News Central now this hour begins in Rivers State, where the state governor, Simeola Fubara, has assured the people of the oil-rich state that his administration will implement the Supreme Court's verdict after carefully reviewing its certified true copy, the CTC. This followed the Friday judgment of the Apex Court, which declared the LG election conducted in the state on the 5th of October 2024 as invalid. In a state broadcast on Sunday, Fubara confirmed that he had met with his legal team and expects to receive the certified true copy, the CTC, of the ruling by Friday, March 7, 2025. Now, he emphasized his administration's commitment to upholding constitutional principles and acting in line with the law.
Aspect of the lingering political dispute in our dear state. Although we disagree with the judgment, we are bound to obey the order made therein as a law-abiding government. Since inception, we have conducted the affair of government within the framework of our Constitution, due process, and the rule of law. While we are not above mistakes, because we are humans, we believe that we have not, as a government, done anything deliberately to trample on the rule of law or the hallowed principles of constitutional governance. Accordingly, I've had a meeting with my team of lawyers, and they have assured me that the certified true copy of the judgment may be available to them by Friday, the 7th March of 2025. I assure you that upon the receipt of certified judgment, we shall study the ramification and implement them without reservation to move the state forward. Furthermore, given the outlawing of caretaker arrangements in the local government system, I hereby direct Head of Local Government Administration to immediately take over the administration of the 23 local government council, pending the conduct of a fresh election by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. I further direct that the outgoing local government chairman to formally hand over to the Head of Local Government Administration by Monday, the 3rd of March 2025. Although our dear state seems to be back in trying time, I urge everyone to remain calm and peacefully go about with their legitimate daily activity as we continue to do everything in our power to advance our responsibility to the citizen. Thank you, and may God bless Rivers State.
We're still staying on the Rivers State matter. The special advisor to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, Larry Olayinka, says the Governor Sim Fubara has no power to determine who runs local government in Rivers State. Olayinka insists only democratically elected chairmen and councillors can lead, citing the Constitution and Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy. This follows Fubara's directive for council chairmen to hand over to heads of local government administration after the Supreme Court voided the October 5th, 2024 elections. Olayinka argues that the Rivers Assembly, not the governor, should decide on tenure extensions. Fubara, however, maintains his administration will fully implement the Supreme Court ruling and ensure compliance with constitutional provisions. And now in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where the House of Representatives is set to investigate all companies over outstanding debts totaling 9.4 trillion naira owed to the Federation account. House spokesperson Akinbodunse announced on Sunday that the Committee on Public Accounts will hold hearings from March 3rd to 7th, 2025. The debts include unpaid royalties, gas flare penalties, and production sharing contract obligations, many of which have remained unsettled since 2021. Now, this investigation follows an Auditor General's report, which flagged the massive debts despite the Petroleum Industry Act's requirement for payments within 30 days. All companies involved have been summoned to appear before the committee at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja. Oyo State government has received the report of the Committee on Management Disbursement of the Bodija Explosion Relief Fund, noting that the state government will look into the recommendations and implement them as appropriate. It's been over a month since the anniversary of the explosion, and despite initial promises, the state government has yet to deliver the support it assured. However, hope appears to be on the horizon for victims of the January 16, 2024 explosion, with the presentation of this committee report on the management and disbursement of relief funds for families of this disaster, who observers say was avoidable. Now, the state governor, Seyi Makinde, who was represented by Abdurrahim Bayo Lawal, his deputy, who doubles as the chief of the Relief Fund Committee, said that the event that led to the setting up of the committee was sad and avoidable. He also noted that the state government responded to the explosion by putting in place several measures, including emergency services and post-explosion support services. Away from that now, Nigeria's Accountant General has identified major setbacks in implementing the Supreme Court's ruling on local government autonomy. The Federation Account Allocation Committee revealed that most local government councils have failed to submit their account details, a key requirement for direct payments. Additionally, determining which councils have democratically elected leaders remains a challenge. Of the 774 councils, only Delta State's 25 local government areas have provided account details. Talks between the Accountant General's office and the Attorney General are ongoing to resolve the issue. Meanwhile, the central bank is profiling local government chairmen as part of the financial accountability measures. 8 months after the Supreme Court's ruling, local government autonomy is yet to be fully implemented. And now, a new political party known as Team New Nigeria has emerged in Kano State and says that it has successfully registered 43 million citizens across the country. Members of the new party made this known in the Kano State capital while unveiling its logo at the Kano Pillar Stadium in the state. The party's national president, Modibo Farakwai, also inaugurated 8 committees tasked with advancing the party's registration process and revealed that the Membership Registration and Harmonization Committee will be chaired by federal lawmaker Ibrahim Mohammed.
We want to form a political party devoid of ethnic background, religion affiliation, a party that will truly represent the interests of the collective interests of Nigeria, that will promote good governance and ensure rule of law and ensure security of life and property and fight corruption and misgovernance. Sure, we have all it takes to run the Federation of Nigeria as in government. We have very competent people, well-experienced people with untainted record. They have very good background. So we have people unlike what you have in the present Bola Tinubu's government, where there is too much unaccountability and unseriousness. You see this TNN, as you see, it's been formed by Nigerians, collegial kind of political party. We don't collect money from people. We form it by Nigerians who want a real change, a real progressive governance. We fund it, we promote it, and reach to this level, and determine to change the government in 2027.
We go on a short break now. When we come back, Arawa Consultative Forum demands probe into Senator Natasha Akpoti's sexual harassment allegation. The details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on the news. Now, the Arawa Consultative Forum, the ACF, has called for a transparent investigation into Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's sexual harassment allegation against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. In a statement, ACF's National Publicity Secretary, Professor Tukur Mohammed Baba, expressed concern over the controversy, warning that it damages the reputation of the Senate. The forum noted the potential negative impact on Nigeria's National Assembly and the representation of Kogi Central in the Senate. Now, ACF urged a thorough, independent and unbiased probe to restore public confidence. It joined other Nigerians in calling for a swift resolution to the crisis to protect the integrity of the legislative arm of government. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has warned of mass protests if the federal government proceeds with a telecommunications tariff hike beyond the agreed terms. Now, this decision was made at the NLC National Executive Council meeting in Yola, Adamawa State, where the union also launched CNG-powered mass transit buses for the Northeast Zone. The NLC also rejected the reclassification of electricity consumers, calling it an attempt to unfairly increase tariffs. The union urged its affiliates to prepare for decisive action against anti-people policies, vowing resistance to any further electricity price hikes. It also pledged to reclaim and restructure the Labour Party, ensuring it represents the interests of the workers. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has announced the temporary closure of runway 18R36L at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, for rehabilitation work. The closure, scheduled to March 3rd and 4th, comes just 2 weeks after the runway was reopened following an 11-month maintenance shutdown. In a memo dated February 28, FAA and Head of Operations, J.U. Mosu, cited safety concerns, stating that construction equipment at the A2 taxiway link could pose a hazard to landing and departing aircraft. The memo addressed to the airport manager and the regional general manager for the Southwest region emphasized the necessity of the closure to prevent operational risks. Now, during the closure, the shorter domestic runway 18L36R will handle all flight operations. And while this runway is functional, its capacity constraints may lead to potential delays for both domestic and international flights. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has approved a 2-year tax waiver for traders affected by the September 2024 flood disaster and the Maiduguri Monday Market fire incident. The chairman of the Borno State International Revenue Service, BOIRS, Professor Ibrahim Bello, who disclosed this while addressing journalists in Maiduguri, said the move aimed at facilitating economic recovery and easing financial burdens on businesses. He explained that the waiver is part of a state government's ongoing tax administration reforms designed to enhance the ease of doing business and encourage economic growth. The September 2024 flood disaster significantly disrupted economic activities in Borno State, with businesses and households struggling to recover. Similarly, traders at the Maiduguri Monday Market, a major commercial hub, suffered heavy losses due to a devastating fire earlier in the year. Still up north, the Kano State government has been called to invest on citizens in the grassroots to boost small and medium-scale businesses in country. This was during an empowerment program in Fage local government area of the state, where 250 women received support from the state government as part of the efforts to reduce poverty in the state. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Fage local government area, Kano State, an area known to record the state's highest volume of trade, hosting the famous Kantinkwari and large commercial hubs. This gathering of women from Fage is expected to empower 250 of them involved in micro, small and medium businesses with a sum of 20,000 naira each to boost their businesses.
I gave them this 20,000 for the sake of Allah, for the sake of Abba Kabir Yusuf. Inshallah, you know, these women that you see, even if it is one soap you gave to women, they will still recognize you as you like them.
This has received commendations from several indigenes of the community.
For someone to be taken to be given an appointment, when she goes, she represents women.
Our leaders in Fage local government should financially support the remaining members in Fage local government.
I really appreciate it.
State officials here present urge government at all levels to emulate this gesture, saying this can end Nigeria's economic challenges. In Kano for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
The Association of Nigerian Students has called on the federal government to investigate the National Youth Service Corps over the non-payment of the newly approved 77,000 naira monthly allowance for corps members. NANS expressed disappointment that months after the federal government approved the increase from 33,000 naira to 77,000 naira effective July 2024, the NYSC has yet to implement the payment. The Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier General Yushau Ahmed, stated that the new allowance was not implemented due to the non-release of funds. NANS, in a statement by its National Vice President, Inter-Campus Affairs Felicia Akinbodunse on Sunday, justified the call for the probe of the NYSC for failure to commence payment of the new Corps monthly allowance by the end of February, as promised by the Director General of the Corps. The Governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, says the Executive Order 001 he recently signed into law to suspend all illegal mining activities in the state is in the interest of residents of the state, ensuring that lives and property are secured. Now, details of the executive order was reeled out by the State Commissioner of Environment during an extraordinary press conference by the enforcement and technical team for the order. Our correspondent in Jos, the Plateau State capital, Chizoba Anyowe, was there and now tells us more.
It wasn't the usual press conference held at intervals in the state. The presence of heads of all security agencies in the state, including those of ministries, departments and agencies, underscored the importance of this briefing. The essence of this meeting is to drive home the intentions of government in ensuring that the level of environmental degradation occasioned by activities of illegal mining is brought to a halt.
February 21st, 2025, His Excellency Governor Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang signed Executive Order 001-2025, suspending all illegal mining activities across Plateau States. This decisive action was born out of the governor's shared responsibility to protect lives and property from the escalating threats of insecurity emanating from mining activities and unregulated mining operations within the states.
The formation of artisan mining cooperatives among the illegal miners in the state is one key measure to achieving a safer environment on the plateau.
It's like a step forward towards becoming licensed miners ourselves. So it is for us to take that message down too. We would continue and we will not stop at this point to educate our people.
Major stakeholders are not left out of this move to salvage the already degrading environment.
We have the capacity to deploy our men to everywhere. Definitely all the sites. We've just started with some and we've restored sanity. And those who think that they will disobey or contravene these directives, we just want to assure you that we'll come after you.
We are going to work with the committee with using our regulations, so that will help the state have a holistic approach to it.
We are in total support of what the government is doing as far as their own responsibilities of bringing security and safety and peace and harmony to the society.
With this order now in place, any illegal miner will face the wrath of the law if caught in breach of it going forward. In Plateau, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
In Nigeria today, many have had reasons to recalibrate and settle for careers which are totally different from their courses of study in the tertiary institutions. Now, while one can comfortably blame this trend on the dictates of the labor market, the truth remains that so many other factors contribute to this. Now, in this report, News Central's Chinwe Ugele examines why people spend years and resources in higher institutions to get degrees in courses they may never practice.
Admission into higher institutions in Nigeria involves lots of criteria, which include successful completion of one's secondary school education, scoring above the Joint Matriculation Board cut-off mark, scaling the quota system, among others. Once admission is offered, whether in public or private institution, there come a huge financial involvement from the payment of acceptance fees. However, it is disheartening to know that after going through all these processes and rigors to be admitted into a tertiary institution in Nigeria, lots of people end up discarding the courses they study upon graduation.
After my graduation in 2002 from University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where I earned Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic Engineering. After I got engaged with Shell as a contract field engineer. The contract ended after 3 years. I joined banking. So I was in marketing for a period of 3 years, moved around the whole units of the bank before leaving banking to come back to what I spent 5 years in the university studying.
Many undergraduates are studying courses they have no interest in, but must carry on due to family or societal pressures.
So eventually they just go and study whatever concerning course that they can thrive in or survive in. And when they graduate, they still find their feet elsewhere.
And sometimes some are forced into studying what they don't want, maybe by their parents or guidance.
Some academics say education is a pathway to success and can never be a waste of time, irrespective of what career one ends up with.
If you have gone to a tertiary institution, it's good that you're also skilled, or it's important that you're also skilled in the area you are educated. Even if you're not skilled in the area you're educated, wherever you find yourself, you still have that ingenuity, because that knowledge, your mind has actually been broadened.
Tertiary education enhances skills. It enhances everything that you have. But the way Nigeria is wired, if you don't have it, you can't fly.
Oge Ifanacho is a caterer based in Omahia, but what many may not know about her is that she holds a degree in public administration.
I have to make ends meet. I couldn't get a job after I left school, so I started cooking.
She says she has no regrets doing what she is presently doing.
If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have gone to school first. I would have stabilized myself, learned a skill, and maybe do an online course or adult education.
A lot has been attributed to this development, which many believe can be corrected with the right policies.
In a country like US, people without going to school or without this grace for education, they still make a living, they still earn a living. Our people who read what they read here, engineers, and not the rest of them. When they go to UK, they are going to switch into other jobs. And they excel, they do well, economy. And I think this whole thing has to do with the way the system is structured. It is not a production-based economy. It is not entrepreneurship-based economy.
The decision to stay on one's line of course for career choice is largely dependent on what the labor market throws at people.
After studying, I'll have to enter the labor market now.
Many of us are into nursing. Right from secondary school, they didn't even study science. They studied art. So due to the situation of the country, they now intend to, enter into science then be nursing. So a lot of people that study engineering, at the end of the day, you see them selling stuff in the market.
Most time it's the stress. The labor market somehow at some point is overburdened by people who are actually looking for, and if anything comes your way, you pick it up to have a start.
Entrepreneurship is the order of the day, and so has also encouraged some to seek a path of self-sustainability.
Educational curriculum from the foundation, from the basis, should be tailored to cause any individual to have self-satisfaction as a total man.
The curricula of Nigeria's tertiary education will need to be adjusted and upgraded to reflect the interests and fantasies of undergraduates who are the recipients of these certificates at the end of their education. In Omahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Assembly has increased significantly amid suspicions of a plenary session holding today. Last week, the impeached Speaker, Mudashiru Obasa, made an appearance at the House of Assembly, claiming that he was never removed. I'm now joined live by News Central's lead correspondent, Bernard Akede, who gives us an update on the situation as he's been monitoring the updates all morning. Good morning, Bernard. What can you tell us from the Lagos State House of Assembly this morning?
All right, good morning, or rather good afternoon, blessings. Earlier this morning, I spoke to Joe Hansen, and I did explain, like you clearly stated, that security detail, I beg your pardon, has been heightened here in front of the Lagos State House of Assembly. And this is owing to the fact that earlier this morning, we heard rumors or slight information that now I'm confused as to whether to call him impeached, because he claimed that he was never impeached. But based on information we have, the impeached Speaker, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, was supposed to be here today, according to what we heard. We also heard that there possibly could have been a plenary session. And then also we heard that the acting clerk did state that workers of the House of Assembly should work remotely today because of all these suspicions that I mentioned earlier. And because of that is why we have the heightened security presence. I'll step away so you can see clearly. To my right behind me, you can see a barricade right there. That barricade has been preventing vehicles from driving in this way. You can see vehicles being directed to make U-turn. Vehicles that should have been driving towards the House of Assembly coming to Alausa are being asked to turn around and take alternative routes. However, when the vehicles eventually make it in here and they are trying to come out, then the barricade is open for them to make their way out of here, but they cannot come in. I also did mention earlier to Joe that we see, a lining of security vehicles all around here, some branded, some not, as well as security personnel, from police officers adorned in riot gear to those in plain clothes, but all of them carrying weapons. We also see police trucks. You can see a water cannon vehicle directly in front of you right there, and some more police trucks. Now, all this again is owing to the fact that there were speculations that Honorable Mudashiru Obasa may be here alongside Mojisola Miranda, both of them being here because there was the feeling that there may have been a plenary session eventually holding today. And then all this security architecture was put in place just to prevent any unforeseen circumstances. But so far, so good. We've been here all morning up until now. Nothing has happened. Very few people have been allowed to gain entrance into the House of Assembly. And I think I would also, make good to mention that for every vehicle that was allowed to go into the premises, the vehicle was thoroughly searched from the driver's seat to the trunk of the vehicle. The drivers were asked to come out of the vehicles and then they were duly searched. These are things that you don't see regularly at the front of the House of Assembly. But of course, because of the ongoing drama, this is what we have been seeing all morning up until now.
So, Bernard, very funny development, because I remember, I think it was Friday, when our correspondent Bettina, as well as some other news agencies were present to interview Obasa. And some of the things he was saying completely contradicted the information that we've gotten. For example, when they asked him about, the case in court, he did pretend like there was no case in court. In fact, he acted like he had never heard that before, asking, where did you get that information for what case? So is it that there was actually no case in court, or because he also did mention that they're all family, so to speak. So is he trying to contain the situation that has already escalated, or is this just some form of power play, in your own opinion?
You're absolutely correct, Blessings. Now, there's a lot of controversy going on around. You do remember that Mojisola Miranda, the speaker, as we know her to be right now, did also speak at that in court, like you mentioned, that she is still the rightful speaker and the one on that seat as we speak at the moment. However, when Obasa did make it here on Thursday, and our correspondent Bettina asked him if he truly was impeached, or rather if he has come back to take his position, he said there was no impeachment to the best of his knowledge. So you cannot talk about being reinstated if he was never impeached in the first place. He also did say that there was no such thing as a court case, just like you rightly mentioned. However, later we had reports that he said, off camera and behind closed doors that he and Speaker Mojisola Miranda had agreed or had settled to an agreement that she would step down and that he will take back his rightful position. Now, all these things, all these were, said by Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa. So we have, it's almost like we have the Obasa faction and then we have the Miranda faction, and then both sides are saying two different things. Like I did tell Mazino that day on Thursday, I said, I think the best we can do right now is to wait for an official statement, either by the Lagos State government or from the Lagos State House of Assembly itself, so that we know who exactly is the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly as at today. But until we get that information or those information, there's nothing we can do. We can only hold on to the fact that we did see on camera that Mojisola Miranda was being celebrated as the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and that's what we hold on to until we are being told otherwise.
All right, thank you so much, Bernard, for giving us the updates from the Lagos State House of Assembly chambers. We're definitely on standby watching how this plays out, and we're hoping that at the end of the day, it all ends in the favor of the people, because we see that for the longest time since this issue began, there's not been any major legislation done, in favor of the people. So we need all of this to blow over quickly so that everything can return to normal. So thank you again, correspondent Bernard Akere, for bringing us that update. Now, Kogi State Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo has pledged to train at least 1,000 youths annually in vocational skills. Speaking at the graduation of 250 beneficiaries of the Ododo Youth Empowerment and Skills Acquisition Program, or YESA, the governor emphasized the state's commitment to human capital development. The training, conducted in partnership with the Nigeria-Korea Friendship Institute, covered fields like welding, software development, solar installation, and cinematography. Governor Ododo highlighted that some graduates have already secured jobs, boosting local employment. He assured continued support, including high-quality starter packs, and directed state agencies to engage the trainees. Now, this initiative aims to position Kogi as a hub for technical expertise and innovation by 2027. Now to stories reaching us in the studio. The Rivers State House of Assembly has given Governor Sim Fubara 48 hours to present the 2025 budget to the lawmakers. The lawmakers said this during plenary in Port Harcourt on Monday, which is today. The development comes days after the Supreme Court ordered Amir Wule and other lawmakers to resume seating following months of a protracted battle for the soul of the Assembly. Now coming up on the news, West African mission leaves Guinea-Bissau after president's threats. We have the details of this story and more after the break. To join us again. The news continues in West Africa, where the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, says a mission deployed to Guinea-Bissau to help resolve an election dispute has left the country after the president threatened to expel it. Now, the team was sent in last month to help reach a political consensus on how to hold elections this year. It said it had prepared a draft agreement on a roadmap for elections in 2025 and had started presenting it to the stakeholders for their consent. The president has not responded to the bloc's accusation just yet. Guinea-Bissau's general elections had been scheduled for last November, but President Umaru Sissoco Embalo postponed them. He has since announced 30th November this year as the new date. Still staying in West Africa, where we understand that clashes in northern Benin over the last week between armed groups and the military have resulted in 10 deaths, including one soldier, amid an increase in attacks on army positions. Now, the military launched an offensive operation overnight Thursday into Friday, killing 9 gunmen in the commune of Karimama, close to the Niger border. Now, this followed an attack in nearby Kantoro, where an improvised explosive device killed 1 soldier and injured 2 others. The rise in violence, often attributed to jihadist groups moving from neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger, has heightened concerns about the spillover of insurgencies into Benin. The attacks in the north, near conflict zones in the Sahel, are part of a broader regional crisis linked to groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Now, a Zimbabwean journalist will remain in custody following a court that denied him bail on Friday. Blessed Nlanga is accused of inciting violence after interviewing a ruling party stalwart who called for the resignation of President Emerson Mnangagwa. Blessed Nlanga, who works for the online Heart and Soul television channel, HSTV, has been in detention since his arrest a week ago, in a case that has added to the fears about authoritarianism in the southern African country. Announcing his decision, Magistrate Farai Gwatima said his decision to deny bail to Nlanga will put the nation in unrest and undermine peace and security. Nlanga will appear in court again on the 14th of March. And now to discuss this, we're joined by Mlondolozi Lovu, a media law lecturer and Zimbabwean journalist. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
A pleasure. Now, how would you say that this incident reflects the current state of press freedom in Zimbabwe? Is it true that this is an isolated incident or part of a broader trend of media suppression?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we must understand that Blessed is facing charges of allegedly transmitting messages with the intent to incite violence and also damaging of property. But if we were to look at it really, Blessed is a journalist, and what he simply did is he gave his news source a platform to air their views. And these views were contrary to what the state believes or contrary to the status. So it is very unfair to then associate his view, the views of a source to him. And we would say it is a calculated attack on his rights as a journalist, and also it is a calculated attack on the freedom of expression and freedom of the media in Zimbabwe. Because if you look at it, you would not charge a journalist for merely interviewing someone or for merely interviewing a source. Then you say associate the cause of their source with what they believe. So in our view, this is a direct assault on the liberty, the freedoms of the people of Zimbabwe in particular, and the journalists in general. So it is meant to instill fear, intimidation, so that journalists do not interview, members of the opposition or people within the ruling party that may be critical of the head of state.
Now, let's also talk about the arrest of a journalist who was just doing his job than the war veterans who were interviewed. What message does this send? What are your thoughts on why the war veterans are still not arrested according to Transmission of Data Act?
So the challenge, this war veteran who actually uttered this word has not been arrested, and it boggles the mind. Remember, these war veterans are against the purported third-term cause by some members of the ruling party, where they want the Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa, to rule beyond his constitutionally mandated 2028 term. His second term ends in 2028. And already there are calls that President Mnangagwa should rule beyond that. And the war veterans have been clear that some sections of the war veterans led by Mr. Blessed Geza, and using the platform that Blessed was broadcasting, have been clear that it is very unconstitutional and they will not allow this. So in terms of his arrest, it will mean that the state or the authorities are not interested to hear any dissenting voices around this third-term issue, and it will seem to us that it is a way of silencing journalists so that they do not comment or say anything about the third-term, presidential extension or extension of the presidential limit. So for us, it's a way of silencing journalists so that they are afraid and they fear, or then it becomes an example of what would be done to them if they were to report about the third term.
All right, thank you so much for joining us to discuss this. And again, we're going to see how this turns out in court. Now let's head outside the African continent. The French Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jean-Noël Barrot, warned on Monday that the threat of war in Europe has never been higher, citing Russia's imperialist ambitions, particularly in Ukraine. He emphasized the growing risk of conflict as the front line continues to move closer to Europe. Barrett called for increased pressure on Russia to bring President Vladimir Putin to the negotiation table and end his aggression. He also praised the recent European summit in London, which highlighted the need for Europe to strengthen its own defense and security. Now, Barrett outlined France and the UK's proposal for a one-month truce in Ukraine, focusing on air, sea, and energy infrastructure as a way to test Russia's willingness to end the war. He expressed cautious optimism for dialogue between the US and Ukraine despite recent tensions.
Jamais le risque d'une guerre sur le continent européen, dans l'Union européenne, n'a été aussi élevé parce que depuis bientôt 15 ans, la menace ne cesse de se rapprocher de nous. La ligne de front ne cesse de se rapprocher de nous. Et c'est pourquoi la France, le président de la République, dit depuis 7 ans maintenant que nous devons relever notre défense pour dissuader la menace. Ce à quoi nous assistons aujourd'hui, ce à quoi nous avons assisté hier à Londres, c'est le réveil de toute une partie des Européens qui refusaient de voir la réalité des choses.
To business now, Nigeria's Naira closed February 2025 with an 8.5% gain on the parallel market at 1,419 Naira to the dollar. Now, while it dipped 1.7% month-on-month to 1,500 Naira to the dollar on the official market, according to AfriInvest, Nigeria's foreign reserves fell 3.2%, reaching $38.46 billion as the CBN resumed clearing a $7 billion forex backlog. Analysts expect the Naira to maintain its strength in March, provided CBN sustained dollar supply. However, Bonny Light crude fell 3.2% to $75.88 per barrel, reducing dollar inflows and pressuring forex reserves, which declined $240 million week on week, signaling persistent liquidity challenges. And now to sports. Nigerian athlete Nathaniel Ezekiel sets a new African record at the 12th Indoor Championships in the US. Meanwhile, in football, FA Cup holders Manchester United suffer a shock exit from the tournament. Nigerian sprinter Joy Udo Gabriel delivered a stunning performance at the MIAA Indoor Championships, winning the women's 60-meter final in a blazing 7.13 seconds. A time marks a personal best and facility record, placing her far ahead of the competition. Deandra Gaines and Tamija Nichols finished second and third, respectively. Udo Gabriel's remarkable feat also ties her with Success Umokoro as the second fastest Nigerian in the 60-meter this season. That's all the news at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. We did tell you that Nigeria's Accountant General identifies major setbacks in implementing Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy. We also mentioned strong security presence at the Lagos State House of Assembly amidst rumors of plenary sessions. And finally, we told you that the West African mission has left Guinea-Bissau after president's threats following disputed election. Just before we go, earlier we broke the news that the Rivers State House of Assembly has given Governor Sim Fubara 48 hours to present the 2025 budget to the lawmakers. And the lawmakers said this during plenary in Port Harcourt on Monday. We'll definitely bring more updates as that unfolds. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Musugu.